My name is Edgar. I am, this is the first time I'm doing a video like this. And I'm just shooting from the hip. I've never really been big on social media or anything like that. But for a long time now, I've been seeing just more and more men suffering. A lot of hatred towards men. And I want to talk about it. So, me, I'm 42. I'm going on 43. I currently live in San Antonio, Texas. I spent a long time in Hawaii. I just moved here about 4 months ago with my wife and kids. I was born in California. Moved to Hawaii in my early adult years and was there on and off for, I don't know, 15, 16 years, something like that. And so I'm married. My wife is Deanna. I have 4 kids, stepson, and I'm a Christian man. So I'm a pretty new Christian, I guess you could say. The last 3 years of my life, I've been pursuing God more and trying to get to know Jesus Christ. I'm by no means a very experienced Christian man, but I'm learning. And I'm trying. I make mistakes, but I'm trying. But anyways, so the point of this is, I've done a lot of sales in my days for the last 20-something years. I've met a lot of people, a lot of men, and me having a good marriage and having a lot of success in my personal life and my relationship with my wife, a lot of men tend to want to talk to me about their relationships and their issues. And I've coached before. I've done some health coaching, done some weight training, that type of coaching with guys. So I have a natural ability to listen and lead and communicate with men, and a lot of men pick up on that. So what I've experienced in my adult years, from like 21 to now almost 43, is a lot of men seem to be struggling in relationships. A lot of good guys that just want to be loved. They want a good woman who love them. They just they can't find what they're looking for. So I've noticed this for a long time. I struggled for a long time. So the point of all this is, I want to create a space where men could come and speak about the situations they're going through. There's a lot of men that are their marriages have fallen apart. They're getting kind of taken advantage of in the child support court. I know men that have killed themselves because of things like this. I know men that have fell into addiction and their lives have been destroyed. I've seen a lot of good guys suffer because of relationships that went wrong through no fault of their own. So I'm tired of it. I have 3 sons, and I talk to them a lot about relationships. I have 1 daughter. She's a good girl, and I'll talk about her later. But basically, I feel like I have a unique perspective. I got a buddy named Jose. He's got another perspective. He's actually a guy who beat the child support system, and he's a smart guy. So me and him are gonna do this together. We're gonna open up a conversation with guys, with a lot of men, give them a place to talk about their issues, their problems, and try to come with solutions. So like I said before, I always find myself in conversations with men, and they want to talk. They want to talk about their problems. They want my advice. They need someone to speak to. But every time I'm in a situation with one of these men, I can't sit and talk. I have to run off. I'm busy. So I want to create a platform, like I said, where men could come and just speak to me, and we can try to help them. I don't have all the answers, but together we can learn. I've seen, like I said, there's a lot of hatred towards men. My daughter, I had to help her. I had to help remove this hatred or this fear of men that she had, just because of society. Society's pumping a message into people's, especially young ladies' minds, that men are inherently evil, that men are out to hurt, rape, steal, kill, do all these things, which isn't true. I grew up around men. I got 2 brothers. One of my brothers passed, but I grew up around my 2 older brothers and a bunch of guys, roughneck guys. And as roughneck as they were, the one thing they all had in common was they all wanted just a good girl in their life, a girl who took care of herself, who was cooperative, loving, supportive. But no matter how hard they all tried, they always seemed to end up never satisfying any of the girls they were with. And I just, it was a mystery to me for a while. I didn't understand why it was so hard. But having sons now, my oldest one being 20, having sons now, I realize what's going on. I see the message everywhere in music, in movies, commercials, everywhere. There's this message that men are we're either dumb and incapable and we need a female to come and save us, or we're destructive and evil and we cannot be trusted. And it's everywhere. When you wake up to this reality, you see it everywhere, and it's frustrating. Me with my kids and my relationship, my kids are all well behaved. Me and my wife have a beautiful relationship. We don't argue. We discuss things. We come to agreements. I'm the leader. She supports me in my decisions. If she feels like I'm making a bad decision, she'll call me out on it, but respectfully. And we always come to an agreement. We never go to sleep mad. So me and my relationship, we have a beautiful relationship. My kids all respect me and my wife. They're good kids. They're honest. They're hardworking. Everything, right? So I remember some years ago in Hawaii, there was a time when we were having barbecues and parties every weekend. What kept happening was some of our friends would come over, the single moms would come over to hang out, and they kind of would see how respectful the kids were, and they'd be like, wow, this is something I heard pretty often. They'd say, wow, your kids are so good thanks to Deanna, and I'm like, and I wouldn't stand for it. I'm like, what do you mean? Am I just here for looks? Do you not think I contribute to raising my kids? They're like, no, you're just another kid. Deanna raises you too. So even though I'm very masculine, I'm very much a leader. I've owned my own businesses. I've done MMA. I've dominated in a lot of different realms of my life. Even though I am that kind of man, these women they think I'm just a child in my relationship, and the family is just together and successful because of my wife. She's just a goddess, and because of her, our family is functional, and I hear it all the time. It's the norm. I've sat with doing sales. I've had conversations with people, like homeowners or whoever I'm doing business with, and usually I end up building a lot of rapport with whoever I'm doing a sales call with or a sales appointment with, and the conversation and the topic of families come into play, right? And I talk about my kids, and I talk about my sons, and and then I talk about my daughter. And whenever I'm speaking to another person that has a daughter, that has a son and a daughter, I always talk about my daughter, how I say I'm raising her to follow her passions. I don't necessarily want her to be a career woman, a boss babe. I think that's wrong for most females. I think most females stress too much and they end up depressed when they end up in careers. And I think the best thing to do is find a balance, find a passion. To, a career, right? That's a passion. But always keep in mind that if you want to have a family, the best thing to do is to have one of the parents stay home. Have either the mom or the dad stay home. I think that's the best thing to do, right? Just logically speaking, if you have a child, one of the parents should be able to give all their attention to that child. And chances are it should be the mom, because moms are the one that carry the child. So I had these conversations with these people. And that's why I'd say that's how I'd raise my daughter, to really think about motherhood and to not necessarily rely on a career to bring her happiness. If she wants to have kids, then focus on that too. Focus on the passion and focus on making yourself into the type of woman that would be a good mother, right? So that's what I say. And every time I would say that, these mothers that I'm talking to would attack me and say, hey, you can't do that. You need to. She shouldn't rely on a man. Just this attack and hate would come towards me every single time. So then I would ask them, I'm like, okay, this is a question that would always stump a lot of mothers, right? I ask them, especially if they have a son and a daughter, I ask them, okay, do you have a son? And they go, yeah. What do you teach your son? Oh, I teach my son how to be honest, how to treat a lady, how to, blah, 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 to not expect a lady to this and that he should learn how to cook, he should learn how to do all these things and take care of his woman and to not expect her to do all these things. And that's typically the answer I would hear from mothers when they talk about raising their sons. So I ask them, okay, what do you teach your daughter? Oh, I teach my daughter to not rely on no man, to be independent, and something along those lines. Basically, they're raising their daughters to be adversaries to men, and they're raising their sons to be submissive to women. And I'm like, how's that make any sense? You're basically teaching your daughters to not like men, to do things in spite of men, to do things to not rely on a man, and you're teaching your men to be submissive and basically bow down before women. That's such a backwards way of thinking, right? It's like you're basically teaching your daughters to despise men. You're teaching your sons to be weak and submissive to women. It doesn't make any sense. I don't do that. I raise my sons to be leaders, to be to contribute to society, to be valuable, to be the type of guys or the type of men that actually make people's lives better. And I raise my daughter to be loving, to be hardworking, to be cooperative, to take care of herself, to maintain her purity. They're two different people, right? And it's just, I guess my whole point is, from my experience in these last, 20 years where I've been really paying attention to this subject, is that women are raising daughters to hate men, and women are raising men to be weak, and a lot of men I speak to are very much submissive to women. And look, I submit to my wife. I submit to her in the way where, I put her first, I put the kids first. Their happiness, their safety, security comes before me. I would give my life for them in a second, right? I'm sacrificing my life for them. That's how I submit. Their needs come first, right? I would take a bullet for her. She knows that. I would run into a burning building. I'd do anything for her. If she's not happy, I'm going to bust my ass and make sure she is. That's how I submit to my wife. I reject other women. Get the hell away from me, right? That's how I submit to my wife. She submits to me by respecting me, following my leadership, trusting my judgment, doing what I need so I can go out and conquer the world. And that's a successful recipe for a beautiful marriage. And that's just all I'm saying, right? And a lot of women, I see a conflict within women where they're attracted to men, obviously, right? They're straight women, they're attracted to men. They want to be with a man. The society tells them that as soon as a man asks you for something, you must resist. You got to challenge everything he says. Challenge him, and it's horrible. I hate it, and it sucks. I see so many marriages falling apart, and the end result are kids that are being raised without both parents in the home. You're like perpetuating this toxic culture, and I want to bring a light to it. I want to talk to men, let them know that no, it's not your fault. I mean, yes, some men are stupid and ruin relationships. They're cheaters. I think that's the number one thing a lot of men do to ruin relationships. They cheat. Why they cheat, who knows? But my main thing is to create a space for men where they can just come and talk and have somebody listen. And if they've been put in a situation that they got screwed over through no fault of their own, I want to bring a light to this subject so men start standing up for themselves. Stop letting these women get away with things that they shouldn't let them get away with. Stop. Stand your ground. Have your standards. Never compromise. Chase excellence. Work on yourself. Just work on being awesome, right? And the better you make yourself, the more successful you become, not just in financially. I'm talking about spiritually. Build a relationship with God, build finances, build your health. You become a valuable man, and you put yourself in a position where you have better options in relationships, right? I want to create a place for men to come speak, so they don't feel alone, because men are killing themselves left and right, and it's sad, And I feel like the more we talk about this subject, the more people will realize it is a problem. If we can share some of these stories with the public, and some women just stumble across my channel and they hear these men suffering, maybe they'll have more compassion and more understanding for the men in their lives. Maybe they'll stop being so hard on them. Maybe they'll stop being so controlling. Maybe they'll stop being so demanding. Maybe they'll be softer and gentler and loving and more loving and kinder, right? And that's what I want to do. I want to create a place where people can come and talk, and we can create solutions and help each other out, So, I mean, a little bit more about myself, I guess. I kind of skipped over that. I meant to talk about that, but I just started rambling about other stuff. For me, like I said, my family's from Central America. I was born in Los Angeles. We moved to the Bay Area when I was little. I kind of left home when I was 14, 15. Just been doing my own thing since then. My parents split. Parents were immigrants. Abusive household. My dad was physically abusive. My mom was verbally abusive. They didn't get along. They fought all the time. I remember laying in bed every night and just hearing them argue and argue and argue, and I used to hate it. I hated it. And then when they finally split, that's the only person I was afraid of was my dad. So when they split, I saw an opportunity to take off too, and I did my own thing, and I bounced around a lot. That's how I ended up in Hawaii from California. I spent a lot of time alone. I dated a lot of females. I had a lot of girlfriends when I was younger. I was a player. I mean, I didn't really deceive and lie to females. I just stayed single and had fun, right? And the one thing I encountered a lot in my life is whenever I did like a girl, and I felt like I could be with her, it was typically because they were really nice in the beginning. And what would end up happening about 3-4 months down the road, they start showing me their true colors, and then they would go into trying to control me, jealousy, that type of stuff. Just like I said, I'm an aggressive guy, so my personality, a lot of females just try to tame me, try to control me. It just never worked, and I would always break up with them. So I spent a lot of time just kind of bouncing around, job to job, just doing my own thing, renting rooms here and there, and just learning about life, learning about life by actually living my life. I got into some MMA. I ended up getting into sales. Had a lot of success in the sales world. I ended up, my wife now, Deanna, I've known her since I was 11, but I happened to be on one of the times I was in Hawaii. I decided to go back to Cali to make some money. I was in California. I bumped into her at a party. I knew she had been married, but she had gone through a divorce. I had always had a crush on her, so me and her started hanging out, and instantly we got along. We never really fought. There was a couple of girls I was talking to when me and her first started dating, but I cut them off, and I gave it a fair shot, the relationship with me and her. And honestly and truly, between me and her, the longer we've been together, the better it's become. She's a true, genuine feminine. She is feminine. If I honestly believe if more women were like her, the world would be a better place, because she's supportive, she's loving, she's not combative, she stands her ground, she's very strong, and because of that, she's extracted the best of me. She's motivated me, she's inspired me to do better than I could have done on my own, right? She tamed a lot of the flame and fire I had inside me because of the way I grew up. I was very aggressive, very combative, just didn't take stuff from nobody, and she understood that about me, and she was able to love me even though I was that way. And because of that, she showed me patience. She showed me what real love is, and that's why I'm with her. And I just, we've had a beautiful marriage ever since. So with her, we have the 4 kids now. The kids we have, it's just a beautiful relationship. I don't want to ramble on too much about that, but my marriage is, I'm very, very fortunate. So because I have 3 sons, it's the reason why I started paying attention to the culture and all this hatred towards men now. I'll speak about my daughter. So my daughter, when she was little, like 5 or 6, she was always afraid of the men, like my buddies, the uncles, right? In Hawaii, everybody's uncle. So all the uncles that would come around to hang out, she seemed to be afraid of them. She would just kind of recoil for them. And I was like, what is going on? And she always seemed to have a problem with a male authority figure. So that kind of really ignited my passion for this subject. I'm like, why is she so combative and argumentative towards men, even when it's in her best interest? Like, me and my wife talked about it a lot, and I really dug into it, and I did realize it's because the message of men are bad, men are evil had been pumped into her mind from every form of media, everything. And as she got older, I started talking to her about it and helping her understand, like, hey, men are not the enemy. There's bad men, there's bad women in the world, and long story short, I helped her kind of realize. She's 18 now, and she's out of that mindset now, and she has friends that she hangs out with, that she sees the difference between her friends that have like a nuclear family where there's a mom and a dad, a good marriage. She sees how those friends are, how they're wholesome, they're loving, they're good girls, they're not cochinas, sluts. They're not that. They're actual good girls who have goals and are just good girls, right? Versus her other friends that live in a single. She has a friend that has a single mom, and that friend of hers is boy crazy, full of drama. She sees the difference, right? She's able to see it in her own life. So the things I've been talking to her about since she was like 6 or 7 have all come to fruition now as now that she's 18. So it took a long time of me speaking with her and trying to help her understand, and she's still learning, but she gets it now. She sees she sees what I was saying is true, that there's this inherent hatred towards men because of our society. And thank God, she hasn't had a boyfriend yet, not because I haven't let her, okay? I've encouraged her to do it. She's just very picky. She sees my relationship and my wife's relationship, and she knows that, and she sees her girlfriends arguing with all these boys, and she doesn't want any part of it, right? She grew up with peace in her life, so she's very careful about who she allows in her life. So I've been blessed with her too. So that's just kind of, I don't know. I just rambled on. Like I said, I'm shooting from the hip. So that's who I am. I've had a lot of experience in my life. I've been married me and my wife got married about 10 years ago, but I've known her forever. We're raising kids. I'm a salesman. I'm passionate about nutrition. I coach people with weight loss, that type of stuff. I'm passionate about helping men, and I want to create a time. I want to create a space where we can all just talk and share stories and see where it takes it. But the number one thing one of the main messages that I want to get across is if we just follow the design God made. God designed us a certain way, right? We've gotten lost along the way. The world has so many distractions. The world has so many ways of throwing us off and confusing us. I mean, it's the devil, right? The devil has plenty of ways to confuse us and make us feel lost, and there's all these weird spiritual beliefs out there. But like I said, I'm 43 and I've experienced a lot of stuff in my life, and I realize at this point that the truth is simple. You just read the Bible. The truth is right there. The truth is right there. I've had my experiences with Jesus. He's touched me. I've experienced some supernatural stuff, and I'll share that in the future. But if we just look at God's design and just live by that, man, life will be what it's supposed to be. But we've been distracted. We've been led astray by the devil and his plans. And it's time to fight back. It's time to fight back. It's time to get men talking about these issues. We create solutions for ourselves. We're not here to bash women. We're here to share stories that can help people understand that men are going through some real stuff. Okay? And hopefully some women can have compassion and we can make some changes. I believe we can. I believe that God's calling me to do this. I really do. I feel passionate about this. I love this subject. I want to help. So that's the dealio. Okay? I think that's all I got to say for now, and we'll see who I get to talk to next. Thanks.